She came out of the dark, smiled at us, and we were hers ever after. The fairy tale unfolds on a quiet street in Santa Monica. Her mother prayed for a girl and got a golden child. They couldn't wait for Shirley to start dancing school. Gertrude picked Miss Meglin's, a favorite of talent scouts. Shirley made her debut in the comedy shorts called Baby Burlesques. She was 3 years old. She was a sensation in one-reelers, but could she make it in a big studio movie? When Fox offered her a little number, she skipped down the back lot, prettied up in polka dots, and came out dancing. It was 1934, and there wasn't much to gladden the hearts of Americans. Tomorrows were just tomorrows. And then, out of the dark, we heard this sweet child's voice.
On the good ship, lollipop, it's a sweet trip to a candy shop where bonbons play. On the sunny beach of Peppermint Bay.
How splendid, said President Roosevelt, that for just 15 cents, we can go to the movies and forget our troubles when we see her smiling face. She was all dimples and 55 curls. Little Miss Fix-It could melt the flintiest heart. But we loved her best, spunky and sassy.
Who are you?
They call me the Little Colonel.
What under the sun do they call you that for?
Because I've got such a temper. And I stamp my foot when I get mad. I get all red in the face.
Shirley Temple was Hollywood's top box office attraction. She had rescued 20th Century Fox from bankruptcy and salvaged the nation's spirits. She was the model for every child every mother ever wanted. Hers was the most famous face in the world.
Oh, my word.
Say, you get your own way.
She teamed up with the incomparable Bill Robinson, Mr. Bojangles, in 3 films. Unforgettable dancing, an unforgettable pairing. Face it, Shirley Temple was a showstopper.
Hello everyone, and welcome to another edition of History and Hollywood. Now, if you haven't guessed by the starting clip, we're going to be talking about how one little girl had a powerful impact on the entire nation. So much so that FDR stated, as long as our country has Shirley Temple, we're going to be okay. No matter the situation, no matter how bleak or desperate, Shirley Temple's characters portrayed optimism and always a dimpled smile. In the darkest hours of the Great Depression, her smile led the way. Now, several articles were available in the America History and Life database at the Farwell Library. One of them that I chose was written by John F. Kaysen, and he explores Shirley Temple's paradoxical smile. Now, in this article, Kaysen writes how both Shirley and FDR created a set of paradoxes that bring about what he calls a new American emotional regime. The reality of the day was the Great Depression was in full swing, but Shirley's movies didn't mirror the daily sadness, but they offered hope. She offered the brightest smiles. He also goes on to state that both Shirley's smiles and Shirley's films, as well as FDR's mannerisms and his smiles, offered a chance to almost become like a commodity. He goes on to state that there was a new emotional currency during the Great Depression, and this was a crucial aspect of the national economy and recovery efforts. In a time of great financial hardship, spending on amusements actually increased, which was a testimony to its emotional necessity. When you have but a few cents to get through a day, and maybe even not that, sometimes spending 15 cents to go see a film might seem unbelievably frivolous. But Kaysen says that basically this was allowing people to feel good, to bring up their spirits, to bring up their hope, and that FDR uses this to help swing the country out of the Great Depression. And that, you know, where Roosevelt used it to counter his efforts and everything, to help counter what was going on in Europe, he used Shirley to help bring hope back to America. And Shirley also went across the racial lines. Some of her most famous dance numbers were performed with Bill Bojangles Robinson. In the article, Tap Dancing on the Racial Boundary, Racial Representation and Artistic Experimentation in Bill Bojangles Robinson's Stormy Weather Performance, Hannah Durkin explores Robinson's ability to use dance to move beyond the stereotypical roles that many African Americans were given. Now, in the films that he had with Shirley, he was a servant. He wasn't a scholar, he wasn't an acrobat, he was literally a slave or a servant. Now, most of the article does focus on Robinson, but one of the fun things, and you saw it in the clip, was they had a copycat way of dancing. Bill would dance a few steps, Shirley would match, and then they would go on together. Now, for Shirley, she didn't see color. In this case, she was dancing with a friend. And there were a lot of different times and a lot of different movies that you could see Shirley didn't have, even as a child, didn't see things as an adult would. When she was working with Bill Bojangles Robinson, she was working with a friend. The same thing could be said with Lionel Barrymore. When he missed a line, she gave him his line and read it to him. But again, she was just working with a friend. The final article is the shortest, but actually the most powerful one. It asks, is Shirley Temple a feminist heroine? Phyllis Boring of Rutgers University writes how Shirley's characters have all the fire, resourcefulness, and skills of any good feminist heroine. She even challenges her peers to explore further study into Shirley and her characters. She asks questions like, why was Hollywood so ready to give a little girl all of those beautiful roles? Was it because it was a part of the 30s atmosphere, when an actress as a whole had better opportunities than in later periods? Was it because of Shirley herself? And this one's the biggest one. Would a careful examination of all of her films also show a positive treatment of minorities as well? Because remember, for Shirley, they were just friends. When we look at Shirley Temple's roles in film, we see a precocious child in curls. When we look at her role in helping bring the country beyond the Great Depression, we see a strong-willed little girl bringing joy to millions. But Shirley Temple Black was more than just the darling of Hollywood. Perhaps it's time we truly explore her multitude of roles, and her ability to look beyond racial barriers. If scholars were to investigate all that is Shirley Temple Black, we would be finally able to say, baby, take a bow. I hope you have a great evening, and I'll see you next week.